mentioned that so much of the conversation is, I won't tell you what you're doing is wrong, and you won't tell me what I'm doing is wrong, and that almost seems to be the bargain that the world is making, isn't it? It's just, I don't want anyone telling me that I'm wrong, so let's make a deal. I won't mention that you're wrong either.
Right. But as we all know, as every Christian in this culture knows, it actually doesn't work that way. And it's not
Right.
really intellectually honest, because what we see happen is in culture, people aren't just satisfied to say, okay, you do you, I'll do me. There's a demand culturally that we affirm and celebrate what other people, anything
Right.
somebody wants to believe, behave like, activity they want to engage in, or way they want to
Yep.
identify themselves. So Christians are actually, it's demanded of us that we actually celebrate and affirm these things, while at the same time, in the name of tolerance, the culture is saying to the Christian, you're a
Right.
bigot, you're hateful, you're harmful, you're actually hurting people with your beliefs. So obviously we can recognize the hypocrisy in it, that kind of tolerance only goes one way. But that might be another layer to the conversation, that not only is it harmful to say you live your truth and I'll live mine, it doesn't work. And so
Right.
what ends up happening is just the loudest voices win the day. The ones with the most power, the ones with the most influence get to kind of silence maybe those of us who have an opposing opinion, and we aren't really allowed to disagree. And of course, we see this manifest in cancel culture and through a lot of the channels we see on social media.
Right. It's a fool's bargain thinking that I'll just agree to endorse whatever they want, or at least tacitly not say anything against it, and then they'll let me be. They'll appreciate my worldview, my religion, my beliefs. Nope. you will
Right.
be. You'll be. It'll be demanded that change your profile picture and wear the ribbon and the button and fly this
That's
flag and
right.
all those things. And it's the way it always goes. And so, uh, capitulation to the culture when it goes against Christ and his word is not a path that's open to us as believers. And that's really what your book is getting at, is you're exposing these lies that really, yes, the secular worldview and in the culture around us has many challenges, many deceptions, and you're really focused on the ones that are targeted and alluring for Christians themselves to believe. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. We talk in the book about a lot of the slogans we see in culture. These are things that are broadly accepted in society. But the reason I was interested in talking about some of these lies is because these are lies that a lot of Christians are buying into as well. And largely these are coming into the church through progressive Christian channels. And of course, progressive Christianity is a broad movement. You have, just like in evangelicalism or in historic Christianity, you have your more intellectual progressive Christians, you have your more lay level, you have your more popularizers. So this book is sort of hitting at those popularizers, the
Right.
social media moguls, the self-helpish gurus. They're telling you how to live your life, telling you how to have the most satisfying life now. But a lot of these messages really ultimately are leading you to worship yourself. Now, that might sound like an exaggeration, but I'll give you an example. One of the most popular books of the past 5 years is a book called Untamed by Glennon Doyle. And Glennon Doyle, if anyone's unfamiliar, was a former Christian mommy blogger. She had a very popular mommy blog for Christian moms, ended up writing a bunch of books, going on Oprah, became wildly popular in culture to the point that she has celebrities like Adele and Reese Witherspoon singing her praises, saying this book's, her books have changed my life. And in Untamed, she regularly conflates the word God with the self, which she also spells with a capital S. And
Wow.
at the end of her book, I mean, if anyone thinks I'm exaggerating, at the end of her book, she asks herself a series of questions. And before she does that, she references God speaking to Moses through the burning bush saying, I am. And so she says, what are you, Glennon? And she answers all these different questions about her identity. And then at the end, she says, I am, I am, I am. And so, I mean, this is quite literally
Right.
inviting people into the worship of themselves. And so I think this is such
Yep.
obviously a very counter to the Christian message, but it's also a very harmful one, because as Christians, we know that we're sinners and we actually need to be fixed. We need to be reconciled to a holy God. So if we just dig down inside ourselves and unleash what's in there, we might be
Yep.
unleashing something that's going to really actually hurt and harm other people as well.
Right. And not. I mean, that's the far end negative, which I think absolutely they'll run into, and the maybe perceived as less negative, but it's not going to fulfill. So
Yeah.
that at best you will be empty and
Yes.
unfulfilled, and very likely at worst it will be self-destructive. It'll be destructive to those around you, because lies will not bring about God's blessing. It just is not going to happen.
That's right. In my book, I have a little call out. I'm looking for it right now. I've got a copy on my lap here, but it's like how to be deceived in 5 easy steps. And
Ugh,
the steps take you all the way through getting deceived. And then what that does is propel your life into darkness and chaos. But then the next step is that the lies convince you that darkness and chaos are good things. And I think that's
yeah.
where we see our world at, is like people might think, well, I don't feel empty living in my sin. Well, you may not feel that way because you're maybe on the high of the sin or whatever it might be. But ultimately speaking, that's part of the thing, is convincing you that these lies are actually good for you and are helpful in bringing wholeness to your life, when in reality they're bringing spiritual devastation.